Hello everyone, this is Shadowfright right here. Now, I know I haven't been able to upload many videos recently. It's because I've been busy with real life stuff. Now, this is gonna be a little bit different than most of my videos. This is gonna be more of a rant than anything else. Hopefully, most of you who have watched my very first two videos in my channel know that I played Rift for almost 4 years. It was a good MMO that was able to substitute World of Warcraft for me, which I played for almost 5 years. Right now, there are so many MMOs, and there's even more that are being in the works of being published, which leaves MMO fans with a hard choice of finding that perfect MMO that they can spend their time into grinding and becoming better at. Now, this is where my issue and more of a rant starts. After quitting World of Warcraft with Mist of Pandaria coming into the picture, a friend of mine recommended me to try Rift. This was back in my senior year of high school. We're talking around 4 years ago. When I first tried Rift, I loved it. It had everything I wanted in an MMO, and the best part is that it was free to play. As I started to level up and becoming better at the game, I joined many different guilds, met so many people, and started friendships that I know will definitely last me a lifetime. I realized Rift was taking more time of my life, and I was more active in this game rather than my real life. Being the introverted person that I am, I didn't mind this. I was in fact happy that I could spend over 10 hours with my online friends, which is something most people like me really enjoyed. And besides, Rift was really fun to play. As I started to raid and yearned to become a more competitive player, I could see why people love Rift. They had really awesome end content. Some of the tournaments were just amazing and were just rather challenging to play. Hammernell, which most Rift players would agree was their best 20-man raid back in Vanilla Rift, had 11 bosses players had to defeat. I became a more competitive raider once Rift's second expansion, Nightmare Tide, released. I was stoked and super happy to be able to join new progression tiers. My favorite raid was Mount Sharax, a 20-man tier 1 raid that was launched along the side of the expansion. After finding my guild SD5, sure for don't fight it, my guildmates helped me out and taught me the fight so I could become a more reliable player. Sure, becoming a competitive raider was something that I wanted, but soon after that, I wanted more. TRION could give us updates and more raids from time to time so we didn't have to repeat the same thing over and over every week. However, with the demand of more raids and higher tiers came the issue of lack of original content from the developers of the game. Like most MMOs, Rift uses the tier system when it comes to difficulty of raids, starting from number 1 and then working its way into higher numbers. Tier 1 back in Nightmare Tide was amazing. We got original new raids like Reign of Fate, Mount Charax, and Tyrant's Forge. Everything was good. However, after this, everything started going downhill for TRION. Players were excited that we would get a new tier for end content, but in my opinion, Tier 2 Nightmare Tide was just bad. TRION decided to rehash old content from Vanilla Rift by bringing Hammernell and Gilded Prophecy back into the picture. Now, I wouldn't have been that upset if they had at least changed the models for the bosses, but everything was exactly the same. Heck, even some of the weapon skins were the same from Vanilla Rift, or rehashed from Tier 1. What TRION did was just add more health into the HP pool of mobs and make them deal more damage to the players and just call it a day. After we were stuck with rehashed content for Tier 2 for a couple of weeks, it was announced Tier 3 would have original concept and would start with a 20-man consistent of 9 bosses. Those were in fact really good news for us. Once Might of Madness raid launched, we could see the potential it had. The concept was cool and the boss fights were interesting. Some of them consisted in new mechanics we had never seen before in the game. However, as we adventured deeper into this long raid, we could see some glitches here and there. Sometimes as we make our way into the next boss, some players will fall from the map from invisible, mysterious holes on the ground. Others will sometimes not see a mechanic that was happening during the fight and therefore die. This happened a long time ago, and to be honest with you guys, I can't even remember if TRION ever fixed or even care about these problems. It sure was hard to try to progress when sometimes the boss would glitch a mechanic during a fight, and let's say they just dropped an AoE in a really awkward place, causing the raid to wipe. But enough of that, we managed to kill 8 out of 9 bosses because if I'm not wrong, the final boss was way too glitched to even try to do an attempt to kill it. Tier 3 continued that way, and soon enough a 10-man Tier 3 raid was added. I'm not gonna complain about this raid. It was somewhat well done, but one of the bosses fight was exactly the same mechanics and execution as an old vanilla raid, Greenskill's Blight. Soon after that, things started to get repetitive. Progression was hard, but we managed since raids were actually challenging, and somehow they were fun. After a while, I could see the player base drop little by little since new content was being added. It wasn't until late summer that TRION announced a new expansion that would come early fall the same year. This is where developers contradict themselves and go back on their word. How does a game that brands itself for being free to play with no tricks or trials just decides to make their newest content buy to play? Most players in Rift play the game because it's free. Some people can't afford to get an expansion, and these causes either two things. Number one, players get the expansion, everything looks good and it's well made, and everything and everyone's happy. Number two, the majority of the players don't buy the expansion and only a select few do, and this causes the game to decrease in popularity. I myself bought the expansion because I wanted to continue playing Rift, even though most of my friends had quit long before the release of the third expansion. I guess I was just hopeful that this will make the game and not break it. As I started to play, the storyline was not interesting. They were bringing characters that died in the lore back into the storyline, and that only created confusion for me. The zones were too damn big and it was mostly running back and forth to the quest giver over and over again. And so many Carnage quests. Oh my god. The level cap went from 65 to level 70. I didn't even make it past level 66 when I decided to quit the game for good. I believe the reason why I wasn't motivated to level up was because TRION didn't release any raids along with the expansion. They also announced that they were not planning any 20-mans in the future and we will have to deal with only 10-mans for the time being. This made me upset. With no raids, this meant I didn't have to rush myself to level cap so I could be part of the progression raids. This just took away the reward of leveling. There was no meaning, and the fact that only 2 new expert dungeons were released didn't help at all either. Since I don't play Rift anymore, I don't know how things are going, but my friends have informed me that TRION is thinking about releasing a 10-man until March. Are you kidding me? Starfall Prophecy launched in October 2016, and the developers are barely coming up with a raid to be released in March? It's been 5 months since the release of the third expansion. What the hell have developers been doing since then? Oh, I also heard there's another rehash dungeon and raid coming up as well. The lack of motivation from developers is what made me quit Rift. I had planned to go back during December, but after seeing that they put little to no effort in their Christmas event, I decided to never try to play Rift ever again. It really pains me to come up with this decision. After all, I put 4 years of my life into this game. I had fun and Rift was in fact promising, but I guess developers sometimes just don't give a damn about their players. And if anyone dares to talk bad about any of them, they will just simply ban them from the forums or lock their accounts. I had fun for the time I was playing Rift. I just could prefer if developers found other ways to make money instead of making their content buy to play. If they had perhaps put a bit more effort into their cash up, I'm 100% positive players would buy their cosmetics right away. But instead, they decided to make their game not so free to play anymore. With this, I guess I will end my rant. I am very disappointed at how Rift turned out. I feel like TRION digged Rift's grave with this expansion, but I may be wrong. Perhaps there's players out there who still believe the game is fun and worth their time. But this is just my personal opinion, so don't take it too harsh if you disagree with me. With all being said, thank you for watching, and we will see each other in the next video. Shadowfright is out.